Well, welcome back to TuckerAllen Live. I'm Scott Trout and moderator on Friday here on Facebook. And I'm joined by Kevin up in the Kansas City area. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Hey, let's talk briefly today. I know we've done it a couple of times generally about special needs trusts and special needs planning. And I think today let's talk about tips and ideas about as you begin to think through the process of if you have someone with special needs and you need to think about it. Obviously, there's a number of things that you want to prepare for. So let's start right there. Tips on what they should think about when they're planning for a beneficiary who has special needs.
Sure. So I would say that the first tip is just to not disinherit that person. So I know a lot of times that, or in the past at least, there have been a lot of estate planners who have said, just leave them nothing, disinherit them because we don't want to get them kicked off of the government subsidies or government benefits or things like that. But one thing to remember here is that those government benefits just kind of provide for the very bare minimum. You get like, I can't remember now off the top of my head, but it's less than like $50 a month just for like hygiene products, which, I think probably a lot of people use more money than that a month on toothpaste and deodorant and shampoo. And, so it just provides for the bare minimum. So we don't want to disinherit them, but there is, we have to be careful in the ways that we do include them in the estate plan. So that's my first tip is keep them in.
Yeah. And like anything we talked about for a long, long time, and that is you may be younger, you may not have health issues, but you obviously maybe have a beneficiary who has special needs, and you think, I've got plenty of time. I'm going to take care of them, and I don't need to worry about planning and going to see someone who can do a special needs trust. That's not necessarily the right thing to do, right?
No, absolutely not. So yeah, tip 2 is don't wait too long. Obviously, no one plans kind of for an untimely departure, but it does happen sometimes. And if it does happen, everyone else, it's going to be tragic. It's going to be a bit of a headache for everyone else in your life as well. But it's an even bigger headache for someone who is a special needs, person, and they are a beneficiary, because without any plan in place, then they are going to receive assets, and there's not going to be any stipulations on how they receive them, and they're just going to get them, and it will most likely get them kicked off of that government program, which would be, it's really would be 2 tragedies at that point, because it's so difficult to get onto those programs, and you want to be able to stay on them once you're there.
And thinking about the planning, you may have people watching or listening who already have an estate plan, and maybe the beneficiary with special needs has popped up after they've developed an estate plan. I imagine not doing something and changing your estate plan to accommodate those special needs would also be a problem, again, about planning and, I got plenty of time. I'm healthy. They're young. I can wait. I imagine that would also be a problem.
Yes, absolutely. So that's absolutely a problem. If there's already a plan in place, that's fantastic. Let's go ahead and let's get in there though, and let's amend it in some way. If it's a will, let's get a codicil for it. If it's a trust, let's amend the trust a little bit. So that kind of, I think, leads well into kind of the set, or the third point that I have here is that, like what you were saying, sometimes people that have the plan in place, and then we have this special needs beneficiary that kind of pops up, and they just choose to ignore the special needs aspect for this beneficiary. And I would say that's another big tip there, is like, let's keep them in the estate plan. Let's not ignore them, but let's also not ignore that there is a special need that's attached to this beneficiary. So let's allow some special planning to be done around them.
And thinking about, I guess some of the hesitation, and we've talked about this in our TuckerAllen Live segments before, about how you can be really creative and tailored to the special needs particularly. And I think a lot of people feel like they take that step that they're going to be constrained and perhaps inflexibility, and that they won't have the ability to do what they need to do to care particularly or specifically. And I imagine that would be something, is to consider that you can be more flexible, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm sure that people have heard stories about having a special needs trust that's been set up that's just incredibly generic, or it's very inflexible. The attorney who drafted it didn't take the time to really get to know that special need that was in place. What are the benefits they're already receiving? So, as an elder law, special needs type of thing, we need to sit down and take that time with the clients to really draft this plan for them and for this beneficiary that has the special needs. So we can have some flexibility in a special needs trust. It's just we have to know what that special need is and kind of plan with it in mind.
And we've talked a lot about when you're just dealing with a regular will and a trust, and making sure that you make decisions wisely about the trustees. And I've talked, many times about, I want to set the trustee that I know is really good with healthcare, and here's where it's someone who has a really good financial mind. I imagine that would be the same or even more important for a special needs beneficiary.
Yes, absolutely. I would say it's probably even more important for a special needs beneficiary, just because if we have somebody who is giving disbursements from the trust for things that are already covered by this government program, that also could kind of get them kicked off of the program. And that's really the last thing that we want to do. So if there is a family member that is highly in tune with all of this, then they would be a good choice to make. But oftentimes my suggestion to people in this situation is let's find a corporate trustee. They might charge a little bit of money. They're going to charge a little bit of money because it's their job, but they are incredibly good at it, and there won't be any hiccups. There will be no mistakes. Midwest Trust is a company here in Missouri that they've kind of built the business a little bit around this, and they are incredibly good at it. So a lot of times I will kind of suggest to clients, let's look at them. They don't charge too much. They actually have a couple of attorneys that they've hired that work there that used to be elder law attorneys that were incredibly good. So it pays huge dividends to say, okay, if we have to pay, a Midwest or somebody else a little bit of money here on the front end, then we know that everything's going to be taken care of perfectly on the administration of this trust.
And I guess kind of wrapping up the point we talked about second marriages, and particularly where let's just see a gentleman who gets remarried and he has children from his previous marriage, and not relying on your new spouse to ensure that she takes care of your kids, or she'll pass down the inheritance, or we've seen stories. I think we talked about it in a TuckerAllen Live segment one time about some terrible stories about how now the kids are getting nothing. There's no way for them to challenge it. Is that the same thing? And a word of caution for someone who wants to rely on their own children, not ignore the second marriage part, but saying, oh, my kids who don't have the special needs will take care of the special needs beneficiary. Is that a mistake that they should be thinking about?
Yes, I think that's a big mistake. So a lot of times we do hear people that say that, and it's not that I have concerns so much as like, oh, the sibling is going to take advantage of their, sibling who has special needs. I'm not as concerned about that. What I'm more concerned with are, what if they go through a divorce? Then what happens? What if they're a party to some sort of a lawsuit? It's divorces, lawsuits. Maybe they have credit card debt, and then now they have a creditor coming after them. Or what even if that sibling, what if they pass away or become incapacitated while the special needs child is still living? I think that it pays, because I think whenever you think about, okay, let's give the money to the siblings that don't have special needs and just, kind of put it on them to figure out how to take care of their sibling with special needs. All that we're in effect is doing is just kind of kicking this can down the road a little bit, because now instead of just taking care of it right now, let's make the plan, let's get it done. We're now putting it off now down to their siblings to be forced to try to come up with a plan and get it taken care of. In the meantime, between whenever those siblings can create a plan for their sibling with special needs, what if one of those things that we kind of just listed happens? What if they get divorced or they're incapacitated or they have creditors coming after them, So it really pays, I think, to take care of it right away and go ahead, get that special needs trust in place right now.
Yeah, and I always think trying to get across the importance of something, as you just said, and just using everyday things that we do. We may create an itinerary on a vacation. Here we're going to do this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday, or a shopping list to go to the grocery store. Basically a roadmap. and why you wouldn't create that same roadmap for a special needs beneficiary, and then just take the time to plan it out. And it's peace of mind. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to have any questions about what if, or, I wish I would have, but the other part is I'm glad I did. And I think that's kind of the focus here. So Kevin, thanks for joining today on TuckerAllen Live.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Well,
Scott.
check them out. Check them out at TuckerAllen.com. You can schedule a consultation on the phone, via web, or in person. Offices in the Kansas City area and St. Louis metro area as well. So TuckerAllen.com. Always tune in on Fridays right here on Facebook for TuckerAllen Live at 1 o'clock Central Time. Bringing you information, just 10 to 15 minutes that'll get you what you need to know and put you in the right direction. So until next time, have a great weekend.